Hello and welcome back to another wonderful episode of RPA Master's Intelligent Automation Showcase. Today's episode is sponsored by Directive Consulting. Directive Consulting is the trusted performance marketing agency for software and technology companies. Visit directiveconsulting.com today to get started. All right, let's jump into the show. We have some of our more wonderful friends that have coming back from the past and to be back on the show here today to show us some amazing new advancements with their AI technology. So please welcome back to the show, Dmitry, the co-founder and chief product officer of ElectroNeek, along with his leading automation expert, Ivan. Welcome back to the show, guys. Wonderful to have you here today.
Hi there. Thank you for inviting. Pleasure to come as always. And it's been very interesting, I think 6 months or 7 months since we last time met. My team spent a lot of time working on features that we think are mind-blowing for the RPA community. And today we don't want to talk about them. We want to show you them, and we wanted to actually give them to your hands completely for free in the end of the demo. So let's enjoy the time. I know we do have many technical talent, but I'm also eager to learn from all of you who maybe do not have significant technical background. If you see that revolution in AI changing the way automations is developed coming, and actually I want you to put your hands on that. Before we get started, just a quick intro. We are ElectroNeek. We are robotic process automation and intelligent automation company, a team of around 110 people based out of Austin, Texas. We all came from different backgrounds of being either an RPA vendor or RPA consultant and developer. And we joined the efforts 4 years ago to build a tool that is easy to use. And we delivered on many things and tried many different things. But I think 2023 is fundamentally different year for the automation to transform itself into a process that is more human. And AIs and large language models is definitely what brings us there. So I will be in a passenger seat today. Ivan will be driving the show. Ivan, microphone is yours. Please show us how to build bots in 2023. Just describing the work you want to do.
It's fantastic. Thank you, Ivan. All right. Ivan is going to start sharing his screen and walk us through. And again, for the audience, make sure you hang on to the end. We're going to present a special QR code that's going to give you early access to the community edition. So make sure you hang on and get access to that. When you're ready, Ivan, go ahead and take us away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and glad to be in the show. So I'll be sharing today how we can create a multi-step workflow using ElectroNeek's latest AI-powered feature, the AI Workflow Generator. So first of all, what our workflow will do is it will take a data set of 20 companies, which includes their names and their revenues for the 4 quarters in 2022. We can see that data set right here. And if we look at it, we can see this is how that data set will look. And we'll discuss how would this workflow be traditionally created, manually created with traditional RPA. And then we'll look at how this can be done now with a simple description of the workflow via the AI workflow generator. So this is our data set. And let's look at traditionally what steps would be required in order to create this workflow. So first, we would need to create a report type variable to assign the value with the report type. So in this case, for example, we could call that report type largest by revenue. Then we would need to add an if-then condition, an activity that will check whether that report type is correct. It's the one we need. And then we would need to handle both the true and the false conditions for that if. Then we would need to actually add an activity to read the file, the CSV file with the company data, and then save that to a variable. And then we would actually need to write some code to convert that CSV data into a table. Then, in order to get the totals, we need to calculate that using some more code to add the 4 columns with the quarters. And finally, we would need some more code to filter out the totals below 1 million. That's what we want our workflow to do. So traditionally, we would need to add all of these steps separately, and we would need to write and test the code for steps 4, 5, and 6. But now, with the AI workflow generator, we can actually simply translate these instructions into natural language requests and create a single AI prompt that can create this workflow and generate this workflow for us. So let's see how this prompt would look, and we'll see that it's very natural. It's simply translating these steps into natural language requests. So first, we just tell it to assign a report type variable. Then check if it contains the text largest by revenue, and if not, log a failure message. If yes, read a CSV file, and it's important to always explain in even if a little context of what the input data is. In this case, it's company sales data for the last 4 quarters, and save its content to a variable. Then convert that CSV data to a table array, then add a totals column at the end, which adds those 4 quarters. And then finally filter out the totals below 1 million. So very simple instructions that describe what each one of those steps would be. And if we combine all of this together, this is what our prompt will be. So this is just a combination of all of those individual instructions that we just saw. So this is great. This is actually the description that we need, but we can actually use this for the AI workflow generator in ElectroNeek. So let me actually close this out, and I will copy this prompt directly and open up Studio Pro right here. This is our development environment. And here we can create a new workflow and of course start from a blank canvas. But with the AI workflow generator, we don't need to. We can actually use this prompt we just created with this new option right here, create new with AI. And in this case, we have 2 options. We can save the result to a file, or we can just put it right here in the canvas, which we will see in a moment. And I will just now paste that prompt that we just created. So now with just this very simple description, I can now click the build workflow button. And this process, which would have traditionally taken some hours to create, particularly writing the code and testing and making sure everything works correctly, now becomes just a couple seconds while we wait for the workflow to be generated. And as we can see, it has been generated completely right here. So we can see the steps that we described right here in the workflow that was generated by the AI. First, the report type variable has been assigned. Then we check if that report type is the one that we actually need. If not, we see the error message being logged right here. And in this case, the message says report type is not larger than revenue. This was, of course, generated by the AI. I didn't need to describe that specifically. Then if yes, we go into reading that CSV file. Of course, we didn't provide the path or the actual file in the request to the AI, so we just have a placeholder here. But we can very simply just click pick right here and select the actual CSV file from our desktop. Then next, that CSV data is saved to a variable, and then the 3 transformations that we requested are performed. First, that CSV data is translated into an array. Then that array gets a new column at the end added with the totals. And then we see that the data is filtered by just keeping the ones that have the totals above 1 million. So all of this code that was required was written by the AI as well while generating this workflow. So this is the entire workflow that we described. And now that we did this replacement from the placeholder into the actual file, we can actually run this. This is fully functional. So we can click the play button right here and see how it works. So this was a very quick workflow because it just used data. So we can see it finished in 2 seconds. And in order to check that this data has been filtered correctly, we see the original data right here with the 20 companies. And if we check now the filtered data variable that we see right here, we will see that it has been filtered. We can only see 10 of those companies, but we do have the data for the quarters. And at the end, the totals that were added by the workflow as well. So this means the steps that we requested and we described were performed successfully. We can also see the data that was used in the middle, that was used by the bot in these intermediate steps, but the final data is right here complete. So the workflow that would have traditionally taken a couple hours to create, it's now taken seconds. We only needed to change the placeholder into an actual file. And this workflow is not only functional, it's also as we can see, well documented. It actually includes comments explaining what each of these steps is performing. And actually, this is not it. We can actually add another activity at the end that is an AI powered feature that we have to not just keep this result in a not very readable table. This table is useful, but what if we wanted an executive summary of that data? Let's say we want something more easily consumable, something easier to read. So we have a new activity as well called Ask AI right here that can perform a question to OpenAI's GPT engine. Let's add it right here into the workflow. And in this case, we will ask it to take that data and make an executive summary of no more than 50 words with that data and just present it on screen. So for that activity, we also need a prompt, of course. So let me actually show you how we constructed that prompt right here. In this case, since with the workflow generator, we have more context in the request itself. In this case, we need to provide more context in the prompt. So we're explaining in more detail what it is that we need. So we first simulate a persona. We ask the AI to act as a financial analyst. Then the task itself is that the AI will receive the following table with the quarterly revenue for a number of companies in 2022, along with their total annual revenue. We include the data itself. We will include that with the variable that was generated. And then we ask it to analyze this data to provide the following insights. And those would be the top earner, the average annual revenue, and the best quarter amongst all of these companies. And we can also even tell the AI, how do we want to receive this information? In this case, we just want a simple paragraph of no more than 50 words, but we can even ask it to return it in a code format or in a JSON or in a CSV file or in more text, in less text, in a single word. Really, there's a lot of possibilities here. So that would be our prompt for the Ask AI activity. So we'll just go back to Studio Pro, go back to the Ask AI activity, and I have it pasted right here. We can see that it's the full prompt that we just saw, but of course we have a placeholder for the variable name, and we just need to replace that with the actual variable that was generated by the AI workflow generator. In this case, it's called filter data. So it's right here. Then in this Ask AI activity, we can set the temperature. In this case, we use 17% as a good standard because we want those responses to always be consistent, but this can be easily adjusted right here in the activity. And we also mark the show text output only option so that the result that is saved to the Ask AI content variable right here doesn't include all the technical details of the request to the AI. We just want the actual answer at the end. Finally, we just want to show this message on screen. We want to show the actual insights on the screen. So we can grab a user notification activity right here, and then use the save the previous step result option in that activity. So that will grab the contents of the Ask AI content activity and show it to us on the screen. So we can run this again now and see how it works. We will see that the steps themselves will be the same, but at the end, the Ask AI activity has been added. And here we can see that very quickly the data was processed and these insights were generated. So we can see that one of those companies, Magenta Motors, had the highest annual revenue. The average annual revenue is also calculated there. And we also see data for the best quarter, which was, of course, extracted as well from that same data. So once that message is shown, the workflow ends. And with that, not only were we able to generate in seconds a workflow that would have normally taken hours, but we also took those results and made them easier to read, easier to consume, both using AI-powered features in ElectroNeek.
That is amazing, and I am very impressed that you've taken my responsibility as a host away by answering a lot of different questions up front for the audience. So let me understand. So I'm inside of Studio Pro here. How would I activate these features and get started using the technology once I have access to the community edition at the end of the show today?
Right. So as we saw from the beginning, from the start of Studio Pro, I can actually close this up and start it again so we can see exactly how I did it. we have an option to start a workflow from the very beginning with AI. We can also grab a new project or an existing project and add more workflows to that project with AI. But in this case, we use this option right here, create new with AI. And that's where we pasted our prompt, which we had generated previously. So that would be the best option.
Okay, fantastic. And when it comes for the audience and trying to inspire other automation projects that we could start immediately right here, what would you say are the top 3 most popular ways to get started right now?
Right. I know, Dmitry, if you would like to take that one.
So that's a community. That's something that we develop for anyone who wants to learn, first of all. And I think that's a desire of majority of the audience on the show is to stay on top of trends, to stay on top of technologies and get inspired. And the community is the easiest way to do that. Of course, we do have some limitations for the community. And essentially what you see in front of you is Studio Pro, which is just small, not small, it's important component of our platform, but there is much more to that. And currently, community would not include, for instance, the orchestrator feature where you can see how this is being deployed and scheduled and run. And many other features like IntelliDocs, our product for process any type of scanned files with more than 2,500 pre-trained models. And we also allow people to train their own models now. So these are not part of that experience. But for what you've seen today, you can just go there and start doing, I would say, quite frankly, much simpler tasks. Like I've seen a demo earlier today of one of our clients showing like really small prompt build a currency converter for me using public API. And the model now can work with public APIs easily for that. So it becomes very interesting from business user perspective. So how much you can accomplish just without knowing anything rather than just creating the task and running that. Of course, we would like to see among our users and clients, and we do have significant client base in both area of service, these companies that provide services for others, and also for those who implement internally. And I think for internal implementation specifically, the complexity was always a barrier. What I've learned from talking to many businesses that were looking into automation solution, that human cost always was higher than the technology cost. And we tried to break the stigma with technology. So if you are a company that is looking into internal projects that you put on a shelf a long time ago or recently, because of the complexity of the development or because of the if you perceive the ROI or I need to hire someone to do that, give it a try. And if you already know a process you want to automate, you can engage with our team. And at a certain moment, Ivan or one of his colleagues will see your case, and we actually do trials and POVs where we demo what needs to be automated on your process. So if you want to put your hands on, community is the best way. If you want to put not only your hands on, but see how your real process gets automated in your environment, engage with our team. You can do the same using the same QR code.
This is fantastic. And thank you, Dmitry. Yes, we know that a lot of people in our audience love to play with the latest and greatest AI tools for sure. So 100%, if you're watching this right now, make sure you're going to scan this QR code in just a minute so you get early access to this. But of course, if you're ready to really dive in and do it big, then you got to hit up Dmitry and his team, especially with Ivan over here with a wonderful demo here today. Thank you, my friend, for being so in depth with your demo and walking us through each step. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Derek.
If you are in the audience right now, we want to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsors at Directive Consulting. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we grow this community. Over 40,000 now followers for RPA Master, and it's all because of you. So I just want to say thank you for joining us here on another wonderful episode of RPA Master's Intelligent Automation Showcase. I'm your featured host, Derek Gerber. We'll talk to you soon.